Cool. Looks like slides are up.
Alright, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright, where's Richard, by the way? Is he in there somewhere? Oh, there he is, right there. Cool.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How's it going? I'm just gonna go do a quick talk, Richard, and then it's on to you. You're next. No, not yet. I have to speak first. Hold on. And I think so Sami is on his way, but we'll just start and then he can jump in when he's ready.
Cool. I haven't gotten a call from him yet, but hopefully he can figure it out.
Alright, so welcome to the Asia Pacific Virtual Reality Network event. How you going, guys? So we've got a few more people who just jumped in the Brisbane meetup. At the moment, we have a bunch of speakers who have logged in from different parts of the Asia Pacific region. The vision for the Asia Pacific Network is basically to connect the different meetups in our area and to provide basically monthly meetups, places where developers, local community can log into platforms like ConVRge and meet other people at a time that suits them. So far, I've been a part of a bunch of different events that have happened, but they've been streamed from America, so the times just hasn't been, it just doesn't work out because we're on the other side of the world. So that's one thing that we'd like to do, is have more meetups like this, and if there's any people out there who do a bit of game developing or virtual reality developing or run a meetup themselves, so if you'd like to speak, you're more than welcome. We have a website, the APVRN.com website, and my email's on there at the moment, but we'll figure out a contact form and make it a bit more professional. So just get in contact with us through that email. And also, so if you're also a meetup and you would like to be a part of the Asia Pacific VR Network and have your information shown on the website, just let us know via email as well. We'd be happy to have you along. So, just a little bit about myself. My name's Lex. Myself and a friend and a few others have been running the Brisbane VR Club since December last year. And it's been growing very, very consistently, and it's great to see so many people here tonight on a Saturday night. And we started in December, and we were just hopping around. We didn't actually have a solid venue, but we've been able to secure a nice place at the Powerhouse, Brisbane Powerhouse. So I just want to thank them formally for letting us have our meetups here. And so we've got some interesting speakers that are lined up for tonight. Sami will be on his way. He'll be talking about will VR work this time. So we've obviously in the community, virtual reality has had some false starts a number of times since the 80s, and so he'd like to discuss whether we've got it right this time. The next speaker will be Richard from Shanghai. He'll be presenting about the preservation of history using virtual reality technology. Then we have Christopher from the Philippines, talking about VR adoption in the developing world, which I'm very interested to hear about. And then hopefully Wilf can log in. He's on the Sunshine Coast. He's a member of the Brisbane VR Club. He'll be talking about the open source VR concept that we're thinking about pursuing for all of the meetups that are part of the Asia Pacific VR Network. And then finally, to wrap things off, Vitaly from Singapore is going to be talking about the trends for the rest of 2015, and then also looking into 2016, what his thoughts are on where we'll head from there. So basically what's going to happen is each speaker, except for Vitaly at the very end, they're going to have 30 minutes each. And what we'll do is we'll leave questions to the very end. We've set up, so I'm not with the other meetups around the Asia Pacific region. You probably have your own stations set up. Hopefully you do. At the Brisbane one, we've got you'll see along the sides here, there's some stations. You can jump in at the very end and experience virtual reality, but then I'm hoping that the speakers, if they can just hang around at the very end to answer any questions that you might have. So you'll be able to chat with them one-on-one. So yeah, that's about it. But yeah, so welcome to the Asia Pacific Virtual Reality Network, and our vision is to strive to connect all virtual reality meetups within the Asia Pacific region and to form a single network which provides support and education for virtual reality technology, whether you're into developing it or whether you're just an enthusiast. So yeah, that's it. Where's Richard? You're up next, Richard.
Hello, Lex.
And thanks again for everyone who's joining in from your respective areas.
Thanks, Lex. So, is the slides working?
Yeah, do you have
But I think I can't find my slides on my phone.
do you have the control link?
I have the control link, but I'm getting someone else's presentation.
Okay, I can progress them for you if you want. Is the first one yours? Just let me know when I get to your slides. Are his slides the second in line, Lex?
I think. Can you back up 4 slides?
Back up.
There we
yeah.
go. Forward one more. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you wanna put this on here.
Okay.
Okay. Stand up and talk.
I can just speak here.
Say next or something.
Okay. So hello everyone. Thanks, Lex. Today I'm going to talk about a project I did over this summer using cheap, accessible VR technologies to preserve cultural heritage in Shanghai. So a little bit about myself. I'm from Shanghai. I'm a local Shanghainese. I'm currently a junior studying at NYU Shanghai, an institution launched by NYU and East China Normal University here in Shanghai in 2013. And my major is interactive media, arts, and global China studies. So here's my situation. My family's house was built in 1929. It was built in the style of Shikumen, an architectural style unique to Shanghai as it blends both Chinese and Western influences. Excuse me, but okay. Can you go back? Sorry. So Shikumen is a traditional Shanghainese architectural style combining Western and Chinese elements that had first appeared in the 1960s. In the 1860s, at the height of their popularity, there were around 9,000 Shikumen-style buildings in Shanghai, and comprising 60% of the total housing stock in the city. However, in the recent decades, what we are observing is a disappearance of Shikumen buildings. It's mainly due to the reform and opening up of China after the 1980s. The drive for more land, more real estate development have have caused the government to acquire more lands, and in that process, a lot of old buildings are demolished. In the process, a lot of old buildings are demolished, and they leave way for like new construction projects, new commercial malls, new condos. But there are also two sides in this debate on whether Shikumen architecture should be preserved or not. Of course, the government will say that the urban renewal process would require those buildings to be demolished. But there are also, in recent years, more and more scholars and also Shanghai citizens argue that Shikumen buildings are a unique cultural phenomenon in Shanghai, and it not only represents the architectural art of Shanghai, but it also represents a lifestyle where the residents usually share a closer bond to each other than what you will get if you are a resident in like newer apartment buildings. So the thing is, this summer I learned my neighborhood is going to be demolished by this fall, by fall 2015. So one question I'm pondering about is what I can do to preserve the cultural and historical heritage of my neighborhood. So I think since if I can't preserve the buildings, the architecture, the lifestyle in reality, why not just resort to virtual reality? So here is my plan. I plan to I'm just waiting for slides.
Just tell me next when you want it next.
Okay. I plan to build a virtual reality street view of a Shikumen neighborhood, so that it's based on a series of panorama images covering all the major alleyways, or in Shanghainese we say longtangs of the neighborhood. That is like a Shikumen version of the street view. And beyond the basic street view functions, it should also has audio and has video, so that I can actually preserve not only the architectural styles of the neighborhood, but also people's lifestyle, how people lived in this particular point in history in 2015, before the demolition of the neighborhood. In addition, I want my virtual reality experience can be accessible to everyone with any device. VR equipment can be very expensive, but for my project, I hope instead of being another like fancy demo of like Oculus Rift, I hope it can be accessible to the ordinary folk with a smartphone. And finally, I want this project to be able to serve as a base for similar documentation projects. On the technical side, I choose to build a browser-based virtual reality solution so that people can actually access the content simply from their browsers, whether phones or computers, using a technology called WebVR and 3.js. So that's the presentation side. On the capturing side, I used 6 Xiaoyi action cameras. So Xiaoyi is another product of Chinese ingenuity. It's a GoPro knockoff, but it comes at a fraction of GoPro's price. And I installed 6 Xiaoyi action cameras on a 3D printed panorama rig, obtained from online sources to capture the images and the video of my neighborhood. Next slide. So this is on the left is my equipment. As you can see, it's a 3D printed camera rig with 6 Xiaoyi cameras. It basically looks like a GoPro. But as you can see, I basically achieved the equivalent of a GoPro-based panorama rig at a fraction of the latest cost. So my total budget for the Xiaoyi rig is 2,694 RMB, which is about like 500 US dollars, which is around the price for a regular GoPro camera. And by doing this, I saved more than $2,000 in the process, building almost the same experience I would get if I were using a GoPro-based solution. Next slide. But in addition to ensuring the project, sorry, next slide. So in addition to ensuring the project being low cost, I also want like other people, other users, to be able to use my code as a starting point to build their own virtual reality experiences. Whether they want to use a Xiaoyi-based rig like I did, or they can also capture panorama images using apps such as Google Photosphere at basically no cost, because everyone nowadays has a smartphone. So the problem is how do we ensure that for ordinary folks it will be simple and straightforward to build their own virtual reality experiences. So here I defined a JSON marking scheme for defining the virtual reality tool. So here you can see, sorry, next slide. The JSON rules are pretty simple. So in order to make everything simple, I define a clock space in a 360 panorama. So so for each panorama, the central point, I define it as 12 o'clock. So you can basically imagine a clock space revolving around the ground point and pointing at the central at the central of the panorama image is 12 o'clock. So here we can see for this image at 9 o'clock there will be a hotspot. If the user clicks the hotspot, they will be taken to another panorama image. And in addition to that, this hotspot will also play an audio file to serve as a suggestion or reminder to a user that you can click this hotspot. The audio, by the way, is also positional. So instead of hearing like static audio sources, you are in the virtual reality environment with the moving of your head. You can hear the audio source move according to the movement of your head. Next slide. So that's basically all of my project. This project is done as part of my university's a research funding program called Dean's Undergraduate Research Funding. These are part of my. If you guys want to try out the demo, you can point your browser to webvr-demo.appspot.com. That's a place I'm currently running my demo on. So for the audience here in Shanghai, I'm also running a demo on the Wi-Fi here, so you guys can access the IP address. It's 172.26.105.63, and port is 5000. Next slide. Okay, thank you. That's all my presentation.
Nice. Great. I'll take one of those rigs for $500.
Can you repeat the URL, please?
Excuse me, but could you repeat the question?
Can you repeat the URL?
Oh, URL. So URL is WEBVR WebVR dash demo WebVR dash demo dot APPSPOT dot com.
Okay, who's presenting next?
Did Sami manage to get in? I thought I saw him here.
So Sami's not in yet. So Toph, you're off next.
Who was that? That's up next?
So Christopher from Malaysia. Sorry, Philippines. He was
Philippines. Anyone from the
back there?
Anyone in the Philippines meetup know where Christopher has gone to? What have you done with Christopher?
Hello. You know, you're right away.
Just get him away.
That was a cool presentation, Richard. That rig you built for $500 is pretty sweet. Should we go to?
How do you think the videos coming out of that rig?
What was the question?
How do you think the videos coming out of the rig?
How is the video coming out of the rig?
How do you sync the videos?
I sync the videos using Auto Panel.
Okay, is it a custom made solution?
Excuse me?
Is the solution available online?
Is it a custom-made solution?
Toph.
No, it's commercial software.
And what is the price of that solution?
Here he is, Toph. You're up next.
Hello, Lex.
You're up now, brother.
Do you have the control link for the slides, Toph, or do you need me to control them for you? Are these his slides, or are they further down?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of background noise. Yeah, no worries. You can kick off when you're ready, brother.
Oh
That's
yes.
the stacks.
Ready Player One.
Do you have the slides control, Toph, or do you need me to progress them for you? I'll just do it for you. Just tell me next slide when you need it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you increase the volume a little bit? Can you increase the volume a little bit?
That's an awesome graph. I gotta get a picture of that. Yeah.
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 Oh, I think he flatlined.
Got some mic issues there. Microphone's a little staticky. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice job, Toph.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well done. So, Wilf wasn't able to make it, so he sends his apologies. Is Sami in the building?
Did you get him on the phone, Sean?
Yeah, he called Hayden and not sounded like they got it resolved, but
Yeah, he was trying to find another Wi-Fi because he was on a school Wi-Fi and that didn't. They like blocked ConVRge.
Yeah.
He sounded confident that he could find another Wi-Fi, but
As it should.
yeah, this is a real dangerous app.
So can you guys find Sami?
I don't think it's a problem of finding him. I think it's a problem of. Oh, is
Here
that
he
him?
is.
We got Sammy in the house.
Good timing.
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we're running two computers on a 3G connection, so I do not know how stable this is going to be. But let's
Awesome.
see how we go.
that's awesome.
I got you, dog. Yeah, just
Come
say
on the
next
stage,
slide
here
when
we
you're
go.
ready.
This isn't my presentation, though. I could talk about Phenomic, but I don't know much about it.
Are you Lex? Is he later or earlier?
I was
He's
just after
earlier.
Lex's introduction.
All right, we'll go back to the
Sammy
start
got
then. Spoiler alerts, don't look at his slides.
Look! I see you looking!
Everyone close their eyes.
Press F to close your eyes.
All right, we are there.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to make sure my little iPhone 5 doesn't explode with two computers running off its little 3G. So if anyone cannot hear me, just tell me, and I will try and repeat myself.
You sound pretty good right now.
Okay, cool. So good afternoon. I guess for some people, good evening. For others, it's just gone 12 here in Turkey, and I'm connecting to you guys from Bahçeşehir University Bug Labs. This institution is a game design area for Bahçeşehir University, and we had our first event here a couple of weeks ago now. It was a full house, over 120 people. It was really interesting. We had Crytek talking to us and some local developers as well. And yeah, these are some of the photos from the event. It was a full house, and it was really exciting, and it was kind of like the welcome to VR for Turkey and for Istanbul. So I'm going to talk a little bit around virtual reality's uptake in the consumer market. We're all undoubtedly going through a period of hype and excitement around VR, its potential applications and how amazing this technology is going to be. But it's really important we keep our feet on the ground with regards to what we're going to be seeing next year with virtual reality adoption. What kind of timeline are we going to be looking at? What kind of technical and ethical challenges we're going to have to overcome in the imminent future. So, next slide. And one more after that. Cool. So I'm going to be very quick in going through kind of the overview to set the scene. We're all very familiar with this. So VR obviously was a technology that stepped or is taking the step for deeper immersion, narrative immersion, and the apex of which is, of course, virtual reality in the computer sense. This is a picture from VPL Research. the company established by Jaron Lanier. I always pronounce it with a French accent, but I know he's not French. It must be Jaron. I'm not sure. Ex-Atari employee. This photo is from the 1980s. It shows his input device is HMD. The HMD was interestingly called the iPhone, which I think is quite funny. The first iPhone wasn't an Apple product. It was actually a VR device. But as you can see in the background, super low polygon graphics, nothing special, nothing very sexy there, all a bit meh when it comes to VR immersion.
Obviously it is.
Sweet tie.
Next slide, please. Cool. So virtual reality, or should I say virtuality, hit the market in the 1990s with the first kind of like network LAN virtual reality experiences. Pretty good penetration in the market. They had 43 million plays penetrated into 17 different countries. But as I'm sure many of you guys and girls of my age group remember, it was a really underwhelming experience. It really was kind of like you did it and you paid your $5 or £5 for me in London, and it was a bit like, was that it? So VR was a really underwhelming technology, and that really kind of continued with 1995's VR with the Virtual Boy. Next slide. So yeah, Virtual Boy, again, we're all familiar with this absolute commercial failure. Critics complaining about its really low graphics, really bad games, the fact that it made you sick after like 10 minutes of use. And with the death of the Virtual Boy, we kind of see VR disappear from the consumer market. It kind of ran back into hiding in universities and in research and development institutions, and we kind of hear nothing of it. Next. And the grandfather of VR, Jaron, he was basically saying this came down to a number of reasons. It came down to graphics just being too simple, hardware that wasn't really ready at the time, really bad optics, really bad screen resolutions, and just kind of like a general lack of understanding by developers in terms of what they should be developing for VR, how they should be developing for VR. Next. So fast forward 25 years, and we've got, you know, Mr. Lucky, very lucky indeed, with his $2.4 million Kickstarter, and then a wonderful $2 billion acquisition 3 years after that. The next. And of course, he kind of opened the floodgates to a whole bunch of organizations saying, yep, we are on board with this technology. And this slide, I put this slide together on Monday, and already it's out of date because I'm sure many of you know Nokia have recently said they are also on board the VR bandwagon. So, you know, everyone and their dog is getting into this industry. Next slide. And of course, that equals a whole bunch of different hardware. I'm not going to jump into what's what and who's who. We're all very familiar with that. But 2016 is going to be, you know, the year of VR, and it's going to be a very, very exciting time. Next. But, you know, this is a very familiar story. We're all very, very familiar with, you know, who the big players are. We're all very excited about what's going to be happening next year. But what are we actually expecting in terms of uptake? What are we actually expecting in terms of the challenges that VR might be facing, and what could be the stumbling blocks in this technology actually getting off the ground? Next. That actually wasn't the right slide, but anyway, if we go to the slide afterwards.
It's always the right slide.
There we go. Yes, not the toilet one, the graph slide, far more serious. So basically, if we look at Geoffrey Moore's technology adoption life cycle, this gives us an overview as to what we're going to be looking at come, well, a little bit earlier, so from 2011 onwards. So we're all very much in the innovators stage of VR, and that's exciting because not many people have heard about virtual reality. Very few people have actually experienced virtual reality, and you know, when you talk about VR, people still think you're referring to a science fiction film or a science fiction TV series. But this is all going to change come 2016. We're going to see kind of early uptake, which means hardcore gamers are going to be buying into the hardware. We're going to see maybe some marketing initiatives, maybe some educational initiatives that build on the Google expeditions that they launched into several schools. And there's going to be some, generally positive media coverage around what's happening in 2016. And of course, VR studios will open, VR developers are getting on the bandwagon. I'm sure we have some developers here in the house today. We have some students and indie developers here at Berkshire that are also developing stuff. So there's going to be a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon that come next year. And then into 17 and 18, we're going to see general adoption. And that's going to be where you're going to see VR in schools. You're going to see VR maybe in work, depending on your industry. You're going to see VR at conferences and events. There's going to be a lot of media coverage around it. And into 19 and 20, we're going to see it pretty much take a common place as a very accepted and a common piece of technology. And then 2021, we're going to see the laggards. So the people that are kind of like technology phobic, eventually they're going to reluctantly be exposed to this technology in one shape or another. But the hype cycle is a really important aspect of this cycle. And the hype cycle simply means that, with all new technology, and we're seeing this right now with VR, everyone's saying, my goodness, this is going to change the world. It's going to be so amazing. This is going to be something we can apply in every way, in every industry, in every context. And of course, that's not the case. And when we start seeing consumer products come out next year, we're going to have a bit of a bubble bust. And that's going to be where people are going to be trying to apply VR in ways it maybe won't work. And there will be a bit of negative press around it, for sure. There'll be a little bit of a controversy, I'm sure, around VR and its uptake. But that is very normal and very common. That is actually part of this technology life cycle, because as the technology matures, and it will do over 2016, 17, 18, we're going to see a kind of like an event horizon, I suppose you could describe it as, where the technology is aligning itself with the maturity of the market. And we're probably going to be seeing that around the late 2018. And that's when VR is really going to have a common place, both in terms of our understanding of how to use it, as well as it being common in these different contexts. So next slide. Along with it's kind of like general adoption, there are challenges, and some of these challenges I'm going to talk about from TechCrunch.com. They came out with an article, The 7 Drivers of AR and VR. And basically, these are the issues that they see that VR is facing. And I'm adding this from a number of different articles as well. Input is going to be a real biggie. So at the moment, input is you can't use a keyboard and mouse. You can try, and we are developing content with using a keyboard and mouse, but it's not the right input. And of course, as we all know, there are these new systems coming out, the Lighthouse, the Half Moons, as I like to call them, but I think they have a different name. And there'll be others. The Leap Motion, for example. There are a number of different input devices that we're seeing over the next few years, but they are very early. And these input devices will get refined moving forward. They will kind of get perfected, and eventually, probably in the next 5 years, we're going to see an input device or a set of input devices that really takes advantage of VR as a technology. Next slide. Motion sickness, big one. We're all aware of this. Not going to go into the ins and outs of it, but motion sickness can happen for a number of reasons. Judder is one. So if your frame rate's too low, you're going to get sick. Acceleration in VR causes motion sickness. If you are stationary and accelerate, but your body isn't moving, for some reason the body has a super sensitive accelerometer, which means if you're going at 1 mile an hour or 1,000 miles an hour, it doesn't know. But if you accelerate a little bit, it really knows. So getting that perfected is a big one. Oculus have said they have solved that problem. I have my doubts. I'm not so sure how they can just claim it's all been fixed, but fingers crossed, maybe next year they will show us something magical that is there. But I think this motion sickness is something that we're really going to have to work on to perfect over the next few years. Next. Bodily presence is a really interesting one. I think this is kind of underspoken at the moment. You don't know it, but your body is a point of reference for everything that you do when it comes to understanding depth, distance, when it comes to understanding size. Your body is looking at your nose, your hands, your legs, and then it judges all these different things based on your own body. And when you're missing that in VR, or it's not been rendered properly, like, just kind of like a copy and paste standard asset, something like that, it really breaks immersion. Or when you don't even have a body at all, it also breaks immersion. So getting that right will take some time. And there's going to be a very clever person out there who's going to develop some sort of VR app that allows you to maybe custom make, set your size, your body weight, all these different things to make sure that the avatar that represents you in VR really is as close to who you are physically in the real world. Next. Vision is a really big one. VR is all about, well, it is not all about, but its main focus is obviously on what you see. What you hear is also important, and eventually with haptics, it will be about what you feel. But at the moment, it's about what you see. And we are very much at the kind of like the basic level of graphics fidelity. It's just about acceptable. And I think visually it's going to take a while before we get to a point where we're actually at the same resolution as vision. I think someone quoted to me, we need 16K in both eyes, which means we're going to have to render 16K twice. So we're quite a few years away from that. But eventually that will be something we need to get to for immersion. Next slide. Next slide, please. Cool. Okay, so yeah, and an immersion, and we've kind of touched upon this already. We need to have good positional tracking, good judder solve, object stability, audio quality, audio tracking, and body presence that we've touched upon already. Okay, that's the following slide, but no worries. So flexibility. So this slide basically represents flexibility, and that means we need to see less of a fragmented market. At the moment, VR, sadly, is fragmented. I think it was Palmer Luckey who recently said it's a fragmented mess, is the way he described it. And it's a little disappointing that this is a virgin industry and a virgin technology, but already we're seeing people say, we're going to go down this route and it's going to be our way. And we need to see people working on cross-platform SDKs and cross-platform support to make sure we have synergy between all the different hardware and software. Next slide. Wearability is a big one, and then this is, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you who have already been, using VR for a few months or maybe even a few years, it doesn't bother you. But I put my parents in VR this week, and they were blown away with it. But the first comment they made was, "Don't we look a bit silly wearing these headsets?" And I think that's actually quite an important factor. Technology needs to be convenient. The mobile phone is convenient. It didn't used to be. It looked like a joke. You walk around with this brick that was then wired up to this massive battery. It wasn't convenient. And VR is at that stage now. It's not convenient. And so we're going to have to see VR get refined to a point where it's, maybe some super sexy pair of glasses, something small that you just pop on your face and is less obtrusive and kind of like almost silly. I was using the free fly in the airport the other day, and I'm sitting there in my VR experience, and it did pop into my mind, what are people thinking of this person sitting there with this massive piece of plastic stuck to his face? So it's something that we need to get over. Either society has to accept it more, or we need to find some way of making the technology a little bit more kind of like accepted. Next slide.
They were probably thinking, I'll never be as cool as that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Affordability, big one. Yeah, very big one. My guesstimate will be next year we're looking at something between $300 to $800 per headset. That's just a guess, a wild guess there. And of course, you've got the Google Cardboards that are €5. You've got the free flies that are €40. But at the end of the day, it comes down to affordability, and we've got to make sure that VR is getting out there into as many hands as possible. Quality VR gets into as many hands as possible. So it's finding ways of making VR either subsidized. I mean, video game consoles are subsidized. I do believe the main players like Sony and Microsoft take a hit, that they're actually not making a profit margin on consoles. I might be wrong there. Do correct me if I'm wrong. But we might need to see VR get subsidized by the big players to ensure that it can be put into as many hands as possible. Next slide. And finally, ethics, and this is a really big one. I was in a conference in London last month, and the BBC were there, and they were talking about how they're going to start using virtual reality in journalism. And then the Hong Kong riots, I'm sure many of you are aware of last year. BBC covered that in 360, which I think is really interesting. It wasn't public. They just did this as a side project, and they were talking about this experience at this conference. And they raised the issue of ethics, and they were looking at ethics specifically in, filming someone in 360 that potentially hasn't given their permission. But I think the word ethics can be used far more widely with virtual reality. Virtual reality is not knowing, it's feeling. We're all about presence. We're all about feeling the experience. And so, when you take, say, violence or quite a controversial experience that in video games is now very much accepted. I'm not going to name any titles, but there are some titles out there which, do cut it very close in terms of, values and morals. What does that mean when you translate that into a virtual reality experience? What does that mean when you're actually feeling present in, say, a violent situation? And where do we draw the line? So, ethics, I think, is a discussion that needs to be opened early. There will be flack aimed at VR with regards to this, and it might be worthwhile us, as part of the VR community, just to start to understand maybe the boundaries and maybe look at kind of like ways we can tackle that before, and there will be negative press and media coverage around that. So I'm going to conclude there because I'm conscious of time. But we are part of the virtual reality community, and moving forward, it's important that although we enjoy this hype and this excitement, that we keep our feet on the ground and we understand the challenges that are going to be faced moving forward, and we work together to ensure that we can overcome these challenges and make sure that virtual reality is this technology that will potentially revolutionize the way we work, the way we play, and also the way we learn. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sami.
Nice one, Sami.
Do we have time for any quick questions? Is it okay if we do like a minute or two for questions, Lex, or do you want to go on to the next one?
Is Vitaly here?
Yes. He just went to toilet. Hold on a while.
All right. Well, let's do questions then. So
Yeah, do questions, guys.
So Sami, that was really sweet. I was just wondering what you were basing your like adoption numbers on in terms of, thinking that 2016 is going to be such a big uptick, and then like the whole like early majority. Yeah, what were you kind of, was that intuition, or was it some sort of analyst report, or yeah?
It's a really good question. So I've been trying to collate as much information from as many different sources as possible. And in terms of figures, so uptake figures, we've all heard these numbers being thrown around. I think one article I was reading says 11 to 15 million by the end of 2016. Another one said nearly 40 million. This is hardware I'm talking. 40 million hardware sold by the end of 2018. But then there are wild figures being thrown around in terms of hardware and software market sizes. I think one figure was $4.3 billion for just software by 2018. So the graph that I put together was looking at Geoffrey Moore's technology adoption life cycle, and the kind of the years that I put in were a mix of maybe kind of things I've been reading, but also what articles are saying. So again, that graph maybe should be taken with a pinch of salt.
Cool. And then my other question is why do you think the avatars will want to be similar to someone's body? Because I don't really, like, personally, I'd rather be, you know, like a superhero than like look down at my like scrawny body.
I share those sentiments. It comes down to the generation gap as well. I think the millennial generation are far more embracing of kind of like this kind of technology. But when you put someone a little older, and I'm not trying to be ageist here, but I'm just talking in regards to flexibility towards technology. My parents, for example, or their generation, if you put them in an experience where they can't see their body, or an experience which is too abstract, for example, ConVRge, which I think is a piece of art, they don't get it.
Yeah.
They have to have points of reference, and one of those points of reference is their physical body. And without that, they find it very difficult to feel immersion.
Right, okay, I see what you were saying. I thought you were saying some sort of more general statement about avatars as VR evolves will tend more towards like your actual physical body in real life.
Vitaly is back now.
Hey Sami, it's from Australia. Anyway, you mentioned that through competitive gameplay, the Rift would increase attention to hardcore gamers, like an involvement. However, I've found that generally anything that puts gamers at a disposition, they tend to steer clear from that. So if you could speculate on how competitive gameplay could increase or be benefited from the Oculus Rift, that'd be great.
That's a really interesting one. My reference to gamers was really the hardcore gamers would be adopting this technology, not necessarily from a competitive point of view. I think you are 100% right. I think those who are looking for competitive gaming, I don't think VR will optimize their experience at all. I think VR is an augmentation of immersion in a game or a story, you know, whatever, however it's used. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I would say that it's not necessarily going to augment their ability to play better games, but augment the games themselves.
Okay, thanks for that.
Sounds like Singapore was ready to go, is that right?
Vitaly is back now.
Cool.
So we can start the presentation, yeah.
Okay, I guess they're the fourth on the slides, fourth presentation.
Yeah, they're the last one.
Cool. Yeah, I'll just get us to that point. Oh, the memories.
Is this
All right.
No.
Okay.
You'll see a girl in VR headset. Beautiful girl in VR headset. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I can start, right? Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Shanghai, Brisbane, Manila, Jakarta, KL, I think everyone, and Singapore, because we are now gathered together about 20-25 people, a very cozy auditorium, and I will have a very short presentation about 7 top VR trends in 2016. I'm from a company called, like a short introduction of why I'm here, I'm from a company called Vostok SDI, and most of you possibly don't know what Vostok means. Can you please? Next slide. Yeah, Vostok, that's actually the name of spacecraft that brought Yuri Gagarin to space. So we assume our mission, like helping some extraordinary people to, like Yuri Gagarin, to achieve their ambitious goals. And SDI is very simple explanation of what we are doing. Static, dynamic, interactive, or immersive, because last year we started to do all these VR immersive experiences. Next. And that's like my picture for all the offices outside Singapore. So now you can see how I look like. I don't like it, but many of my friends told me that it looks like. And I told you why I'm like MD for Vostok SDI. We virtual augmented reality studio with base in Singapore and Russia, Moscow. I'm also VR believer at VR1 e-store, like first in Singapore virtual reality store. And why I'm believer, because we are like don't making much money there. So we are mostly focusing on reselling the headsets just because it's more like a social mission. Because the first project, Vostok SDI, we are mostly focusing B2B. The second, we are mostly focusing on providing the tools for people to be aware of virtual reality. We also the distributor for Carl's Eyes, the headset here, and any other like different things. And I also put my email here because I want to see some feedback about this presentation, and I also have some possible plans for future collaboration inside Asia Pacific, and it would be interesting to know like your ideas. Next slide. I put it that way. Let's imagine that 2015 would be the new 1976. Do you know what happens in 1976? Does anybody know? Sex Pistols. Sex Pistols. That's the good one. But in my particular case, actually virtually nothing happens. But can we go to the next slide? This year was a preparational year for the launch in 1977 for the launch of Apple II, so-called the extraordinary computer for ordinary people. And when I spoke with many specialists in virtual reality, when I've spoken with like many VR believer, as I am, most of them told me that now we're in the beginning of something. And next year when Oculus or any other company will launch their VR headset, that would be like a new breakthrough, and we can compare it to 1977. So without further ado, let me go with top trends. And can I go to the next slide? So here I decided to put it from business perspective. I decided not to mention the most like obvious, like the VR headsets. It will be growing up to 30 millions in next like 5 years, many other. So I decided to put from business perspective. We had many projects in Singapore and Southeast Asia, and what we experience here. First, I think 2016 will be the year of global experiment, because nobody knows what to like. Everybody knows that virtual reality is something cool, but nobody knows how to use it. And it would be both experiment in terms of content and in terms of how to show this content. And can we go to the next slide? So I experienced that next year we will see a lot of similar setups. You will ride a bicycle, you will fly, Iron Man super suit. You will like ride the motorcycle of from the movie Akira. Maybe you'll ride a horse, because I think that's a very good intention to connect some virtual with something real. Can we go to the next one? Nobody guarantee that experience will be cool, so you will possibly need something like this, because so, but in general, I'm quite excited about these times, and I think if you have this option, we need to like make some memories about this time, because it won't happen maybe next 20, 30 years. Can we go to the next slide? Second theme or second trend is actually, I love it. It's very important. It's very, a lot of people discuss it, especially in B2B business, like working in Singapore. Whether smartphone-based or computer or maybe Sony, Sony-based virtual reality experience will prevail in the future. And I have next vision. It's most like for the next year. Can I go to the next slide? So I have next vision. I all for smartphone-based virtual reality experience. I think that headsets like Google Cardboard and more high-end headset like Zeiss VR1, Samsung Gear VR, they are make it more accessible. They are like changing the way how you perceive this kind of experience. And of course, the obvious advantages are the low cost. They easy to like the easier way to implement this or another technology. And I think I will explain the status later. I think that's a great tool for some casual gamers. And can we go to the next slide? Well, actually, PC-based experience, it's more about best quality graphic. I put it like, I'm not sure if it's if you can get it now, but I'm expect you can see it in HTC Vive, Oculus Rift. So I think it would be most the most companies who will use PC-based experience. They're from luxury sector who wants to demonstrate their product in every detail, who mostly focused on the quality, like of the final quality, not on the on the process itself. And from our side, I like PC-based experience because one of the previous speakers, I think Sami mentioned that we will only have keyboard and the mouse. I would say for smartphone, like you don't have this. You will possibly have Bluetooth joystick, and that's all. Because that's the main problem: how to make it more active, not a passive experience, but to make it more active. In PC, you can immediately connect Razer, Hydra. You can use one of the devices that will be launched by Oculus Rift, and so on and so forth. In general, like a short summary, I think smartphone-based experience will be more mainstream in the future. Because I can make that comparison. Imagine your grandmother, will she play Candy Crush or Assassin's Creed? I think most probably she will play Candy Crush because she has a smartphone. It's very easy to use. It's more about the gaming process. It's not about the quality of the graphic. And PC-based experience is mostly like for hardcore gamers who want to spend a lot of money, who wants to get the very high-end quality and so on and so forth. So can we go to the next one? Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, sorry, there we go.
That's quite obvious, because if you go to App Store, Google Play, 80% of content will be games. But how about non-game experience? Because I think that's most interesting, because games, it's something you can experience, but now in different way. But how about non-game experience? And can we go to the next slide? Two things. I think one of them, wide and very popular thing would be the concert and live events. And actually, I can foresee this kind of F1 Singapore 2016 live 360-degree streaming for $5 or something like this. Because that's the technology that will be available quite soon. Not in Live, but you can find maybe 10, 15 experience nowadays where you can see Paul McCartney concert or anything else. The quality is not great. It's not a live streaming and so on and so forth. There are a lot of limitations. But I prefer to think that the perspective are there. And second, virtual reality tourism. That's also a very interesting area. I don't think you can have a 2 weeks sitting in Oculus and relaxing somewhere on the beach. I don't think that would be an option. But from our side, you can actually Google Accor virtual reality hotel tour, and that's the application that allow you to make a preview of the hotel before actually going to this hotel. And I think that would be the future of many these VR experiences next 1-2 years. So you can, before spending like $5,000 going to Maldives, you can actually have a look. Does it worth to go there? Maybe it's better to go to Boracay or somewhere else. And oops. Can I go to the next slide? Now I'm going to show the most craziest way to spend, I don't know, maybe a few $100,000 or maybe a few $1 million. Because this guy's from Volvo. Does anyone try this Volvo experience? Because I tried. One of my friends, he lives in US. I found the APK. He sent it to me. But normally for Southeast Asia, for APEC, it's not available. I can actually send to anyone so you can see how it looks. These guys, I think they didn't understand the concept of Google Cardboard, because for Google Cardboard, for this headset that costs $7-10, they brought, I think, about 6K red camera. Each camera costs about $75,000 US, and they have created I don't know, kind of passive experience. You are riding the Volvo car. They spend a lot of money, and it's not very impressive. I can send you the link, but the thing is that that's a direction where to go, because you can use, like nowadays we are developing VR experience for airlines, because they want to demonstrate their business class, their premium class, because that's something you can't see like in real life, and you can see in VR, and possibly you will save money and you will go with premium class. And the last but not the least, 180, 360 degree videos, because there are different types how you can use it. I would say that's the slideshow, not the slide, but that's the picture I took from a very interesting art exhibition called 1/5 of the Truth. You can Google it. I think some Scandinavian guys created, and I quite like it, because there is a table. There are five computers, 5 Oculus under it, 5 workstation, and the plot is next. You are at the family dinner, and you are the guy who brought a girlfriend to introduce the family. And actually, you can see this scenario from 5 different points. Like first, you are the guy. You see the story from one point, and you can hear his thoughts and so on. Then you can become his girlfriend. Then you can become his parent. Then you can become somebody else. And I think that's quite interesting experience. I don't think they spent more than like a few $1,000, but they have created quite unique experience. So I think guys from Volvo, they need to contact this guy to create something more creative. Shall I go to the next slide? And Volvo experience that tells, and I see it clearly in Singapore and Southeast Asia, that more and more businesses is going to implement VR. Maybe some of them, they don't know how to do it, but they will definitely try to do it. And can we go to the next slide? Because initially we thought that virtual reality is all about B2C. We had few games, and there was InnoFest Unbound in April this year at Suntech. More than 2,500 visitors. We have this Zeiss-powered VR like booth. And we projected from the smartphone screen, we projected on LCD screen using Bluetooth, so it was completely wireless experience. And after the event, many companies approached us and asked, how about we have like airline company, how about creating a virtual reality experience? We are doing like customer behavior research, how about doing it in VR? So I think it's quite promising, because it has some wow factor, and many people in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, in US, they don't have this resistance factor. But because if you start to pitch them with some video, there is already like a resistance factor, because it's not new, it's not cool. But here you have this wow factor. Can I go to the next slide? That was also one of the events created by us, Garina Carnival. The good thing is there were a few companies, few high-tech companies. They had a very sexy booth. They had very long-legged girls promoters who walked around. But you know what? A lot of people was close to our booth, even if we had like 2 guys and just a simple banner, just because they've seen this, they heard this, and the hype is here. Even without having a quite like didn't invest in much, we got a very good traction. More than 1,000 people tried VR headset, and all of their friends, they can see it on LCD screen, because we can project from smartphone, we can project on LCD screen. And can I go to the next? Talking about B2B, I can't, it's slightly under NDA, but I can tell that now we're developing a virtual reality experience for iconic sport event in Singapore. That's one. And the second, that's our customer in hardware business. And they wanted to show, they wanted to present their new server. But I can be honest with you, I work for a high-performance computing company, and servers is not something really cool, it's not very sexy, and nobody wants to hear about them. So we proposed them the next concept. How about you will not present the server, but you'll present kind of spacecraft, because it has a lot of, it's very high-tech, it has a lot of components inside, and all of them interconnected, and we can make a fly-through presentation through this spacecraft. And they quite like the idea, but they asked, how about we have wide audience, we have 200, 300 participants, how about them? So because we are using, on the back end, we are using Unity, we'll create a 3D experience, or without even experience, 3D video, which they can show on a projector. And then after this event, they can have this immersive experience where they can actually be inside the simulation they saw on the projector. So I think that has some real wow factor. So there would be a lot of presentation, there would be a lot of demonstration, and next year I think it will like raise dramatically. Can we go to the next slide? I think one of the problems with VR is that it's like sociopath and introvert, they love VR because it's like a lonely experience. But other people, they hate it, and that's what business to business always ask us, how about make it more social? How about having multiplayer? How about having, I don't know, any other stuff? So can we go next? I think that would be one of the obvious trends, that there would be some platform where you can get it together, like ConVRge, where you can get it together, where you can discuss some topics, where you can do any other thing. And can we go to the next one? Actually, that's quite a new idea. I haven't found anything in Google, so I think it would be very useful in the future. Speed dating in VR. Speed dating, because I think for long dating you'll have a motion sickness, but for speed dating that's a great that's a great tool. And I also took the slogan anytime, any place, anywhere. That's actually Martini's slogan. but I think it works very well for virtual reality and speed dating. And actually the great business idea, if you are a talented developer and you want to create this speed dating website, the great idea is you can, by default, everyone can have this ugly avatar, and you can like taking money for customize it and make it more beautiful. I think many girls would love to invest in that. So can we go to the next one? And the last but not the least, now we are developing, discussing a few projects with Ministry of Education Singapore. You possibly heard about expeditions. Who hasn't heard? That's very cool stuff. Like you will have a master tablet, and from this master tablet you can project 360 pictures, 360 computer-generated images up to like 10, 15 different headsets. So it can be like multiplayer for VR. You can it can be used in museum, in education, in many other stuff. So Google announced it in June 2015, and we are going to try it like till the end of the year. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, that's actually the theme that was mentioned by previous speaker from Shanghai. So that's a very good news, because of economy of scale, the cost will go down, the quantity will go up, and 360-degree camera it's obviously the next billion-dollar business. Like for the reference, GoPro now they sell cameras for about $1.2 billion. So that's many $1 billion business. Can we go to the next one? Actually, what was done before, there were like three major events. First, Recach Theta. If you don't know the camera, the picture on the right will explain you, because it has two spherical lenses, 180-degree each, and just pressing the button, you can create immediate 360-degree picture. I have few samples on my iPhone. I can show you how it looks, but looks impressive. The problem is that the and this camera in Singapore costs about $500 Sing dollars. It's about $350 US, which is quite cool, taking into consideration that no technical skills needed. Just press the button or press the button on your smartphone, and that's all. The problem is the quality, because two lenses, they have about 7 megapixels, so 40 megapixels in total, and wearing the VR headset, it's not that cool. But from our side, it took, for me, take normally 30-40 seconds to take a picture, upload it on my iPhone, put it inside my Zeiss VR1, and be inside this environment. So 30-40 seconds without programming, application available. So I think that's amazing. The second thing is YouTube supporting 360 video. You can go try to find hashtag 360 video and see what's proposed. Not much content, but like last week I enjoyed watching Linkin Park in 360, and I think more and more content is coming. And actually this guy, Zuckerberg. He announced support of that Facebook is going to support 360-degree video. But I think even more important, as soon as Facebook starts supporting 360-degree photo, we'll have a completely like market shift, because this Recap data, everyone can have a preview inside their browser. And the best part, imagine instead of if you go into Grand Canyon, instead of posting a stupid 2D picture, you can post a 360 panoramic view. You can like imagine where I have been. And can we go to the next one, like future plans? Yeah, I think I need to put, next time I need to put this recreated by guys in Shanghai. But this one was a GoPro announced. It's not a budget version. I think it's extremely expensive, about maybe 8,000-10,000. But the most important, I hope they will create the software which helps you to stitch, or maybe not even to participate in stitching all the video content together. And can I go to the next one? And there are actually many projects on Kickstarter. But the problem with Kickstarter that I saw many projects and I read about their lead time. The problem is that most of them, they fail to meet their lead time for like 6-12 months and so on and so forth. But I think the most important that the trend is here, the moment is here, and we'll see quite amazing future for 360-degree content. And the price would be low. I can speculate that the price for one camera which can shoot in high definition would be, I don't know, below $200 very soon. Can we go to the next one? And the last but not the least, actually I was surprised that nobody did mention that before. Virtual versus augmented reality, because many people, like we are working with B2B, with some engineering companies, oil and gas companies, and they ask us, how about HoloLens? How about HoloLens? Do you think HoloLens will change, will be a game changer? And many other things. To be honest, putting here augmented reality, I don't think that augmented reality is a new technology. There is any hype about it. So it's more about virtual reality versus not Kinect, versus HoloLens. Can we go to the next one? I think there are some pros and cons about like using augmented reality or virtual reality. Can we go to the next slide? I think one of the most obvious advantages of augmented reality that, can we go back? I think that's the last slide. I think one of the most obvious advantages of using augmented reality that you don't need to recreate the world from scratch. You just can augment 5-10% of the like environment surrounding you. So in that terms, it's not that hardware intensive as virtual reality. From our side, what like obviously that it's more a social experience, because you can see like your friends, your colleagues, you can discuss with them some different projects. So I think that's the advantages for augmented reality. The problem is that there is only one headset. It's not even available. So it was like even Microsoft told me that Microsoft Singapore told me that they're going to show something possibly end of this year. And the second problem, I think that Microsoft is behind it. So I'm not sure whether or not they're going to restrict it only to their like Microsoft development languages, or any other third party will be available. As for virtual reality, I think the advantages are obvious, that you can have more immersive experience, so nothing will distract you. And there are a lot of developers on the market, significantly more than in augmented reality. So I think it's very interesting comparison, and we need to see HoloLens first, and I would look forward to see this product very soon. So can we go to one of the last slides, like a short summary of what was discussed? So it's not that like plans, it's more like predictions for 2016. First, as I mentioned, there would be many different weird-looking devices, and you'll possibly ride your first horse or drive your first bicycle in virtual reality. Second, I think that all these games, all this like fights between PC-based and smartphone-based experience, that will drive the specs of smartphone even higher. So we'll have 5G, 6G connection. and we'll have up to 4K or maybe 8K LCD screen resolution. Because I can be honest with you, that's very good thing for hardware manufacturer, for like Apple, for Samsung, for Xiaomi and other guys, because they without VR they won't have a justification why you need a 4K screen. Now they have it, because you can have a real experience inside the smartphone. Can we go to the next one? So, as I mentioned, film, concerts, test drive, tourism, everything will be available in VR and possibly even online streaming. Every big company, included in like Fortune 1000, I think, will use the VR in their sales. So that's the next big thing. Can we go to the next one? You'll have speed dating in VR. For those who are interested, or those who wants to develop this app, I would recommend you to look at it. You'll get your first 360-degree camera. I think that's something with GoPro, because I bought GoPro, I use it like twice, and I don't use it anymore, but I think many people who buy 360-degree camera will use it, and we'll see how it goes. And you'll figure out what HoloLens is. Can we go to the next one? Actually, two more left. That's it. So there is one more. That's my email. So in case you want to see how the most like very expensive but not good-looking projects from Volvo or any other like things I mentioned here, just send me email and I can possibly tell you more. And can we go to the next one, the last one? Because I think Lex mentioned that he tried or he participated in few events in the US and the time difference is not there. And I can be honest with you, now it's beginning and there are very good chances and very huge chances that next big virtual reality company will be from US. And I think that's not always like justified. The reason why all the best virtual reality companies, or not even virtual, but all the best like companies from different industries, they are in US, not because in US they have the best people, but because they have created the infrastructure to attract the best people. So I'm thinking that this event is a very good start for us to know each other in Asia Pacific and possibly collaborate on different projects. It doesn't mean we shouldn't compete, because I can be honest with you, we are going to open the office in KL in this year, in Jakarta, Manila next year, and so on, in Shanghai as well. I'm talking about more collaboration, possibly once 3 months, a virtual meeting, once a year, possibly a physical meeting, so everyone will know each other. We can create some non-commercial projects, and this project can be done for like schools, for educational, for some non-commercial funds. And I think it's very interesting to know each other, because we can also create this infrastructure. Because I can be honest with you, why I'm talking this, I don't have plans to relocate to US, to Silicon Valley, to know about creating kind of small virtual reality Silicon Valley inside our hometown, inside Singapore, inside Jakarta, inside the whole Southeast Asian region, or Asia Pacific region. I think that's my, not a prediction, that's my wish. And I'm ready to do many good things to make it happen. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome, Vitaly.
Nice.
Wow, that was awesome, Vitaly.
Yeah, say thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, cool. That wraps it up. As the last presenter, thank you so much, Vitaly from Singapore. And looking forward to doing another one of these events. So if anyone is interested, if there's any people who run meetups who aren't part of the Asia Pacific VR network, definitely contact us through the website. And I'd love to see a bunch of Silicon Valleys popping up around Asia Pacific in the next couple of years. So thanks again for participating. If the speakers could hang around a little bit in ConVRge, we're going to have a couple of the Brisbane people jumping in to ConVRge and just chatting and meeting a few of you. So yeah, thanks again, guys, and until next time. Oh, and thank you to Sean and Hayden for helping out with this. And I mean, we couldn't have done it without you guys. And thank you again to all the meetup organizers as well. Until next time, thanks, guys.
It's great, Lex. Thank you for putting all this together.
This
That
was
was
really
awesome.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's What's that?
Would the slides be available online?
Yeah, yeah, this is all the slides. I'm not sure if they want to open those up to everyone or not. I think it's probably up to each presenter.
Yeah, it's up to each presenter. But I'd be happy to upload any to the website, depending on whether the presenters are happy with that or not.
That would be cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll chase that up for you guys.
We should head back to the campfire and just hang out there, because that'll be where people log in.
Alright.